Last week, I had the opportunity to run for 3 kids who'd never played a D&D adventure before. To be clear, they were familiar with D&D. They'd messed around, maybe made a few characters, fought a few monsters, but they never actually played through an adventure. They didn't know what D&D was, how it worked, what you actually did, and it was my job to show them. What do you do in that scenario? How do you design the first adventure someone is ever going to play? My immediate instinct was to show them the baseline assumption. Run the most classic adventure you can to give them a taste of the original recipe of D&D, so that way you can challenge it, subvert it later on. You don't start with a murder mystery in the Shogun's mechanical palace, you start with a dungeon crawl. For this purpose, I found The Delian Tomb, a starter adventure written by none other than Matt Colville. It's intentionally a very simple premise. Goblins have kidnapped the blacksmith's daughter, intending to sacrifice her to desecrate a shrine to their dark god, which they have erected in an ancient knightly order's tomb. The characters find the tomb, disarm the traps, kill the goblins, rescue the damsel, loot the treasure. Typical hero stuff. Is that heroic? Is this the type of story I want to model for my first-time players, especially if they're children? Should that be the first formative experience they have with Dungeons & Dragons? Is that how I want to frame things? It was actually my wife who suggested I do the opposite. The characters are the goblins, left in charge of their dungeon home when the adventurers come a-calling. The implicit question here is, what right do these adventurers have to storm into the goblin's home and take their things? Now, I did a whole thread about the adventure and how it went. I'll link it below, but the short version is very well. But my point is this. As Dungeon Masters, we are responsible for the stories we place in front of our players. The adventures you choose, especially the adventures you write, send a message to your players, whether you intend them to or not. Much as we might wish it to be, much as it might be simpler if it was, this isn't all harmless fun. Not to everyone. What did I learn? Consider the message behind the adventures you run. You might be saying something that you don't intend.